Hi, and welcome to Outstanding Women Leaders Podcast.
We give a hoot.
I am your host today, Katie Eads, and I'm joined with my lovely co-host, Kristen Aguirre. And normally we would do this thing where we have, she introduces me, etc., but we're getting wild on episode number 11 today.
Things are
we're getting a
crazy.
little out of the ordinary. And why it's so out of the ordinary is I'm not going to talk about myself. I mean, I'm going to talk about myself right now, but then after that, I'm not going to. It's going to be real brief. And so that's what makes it so extraordinary. It's a big deal, and it's a big day. Today is Kristen's 1-year stroke anniversary.
That's what we call it in our community. Yes, stroke anniversary.
1 year ago today, Kristen's life was forever changed. And joining us today is an amazing woman, Maddie. Can you say your last name for me?
Kneebank.
Maddie Kneebank. Probably could have hit that one if I tried. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Everyone gets it wrong.
Perfect. So she's coming to us from Jersey as well. They met on Instagram after Kristen's stroke. There's this huge young stroke survivor community. And Maddie, you are the epitome of young. And so you are 25 years old. You were 22 when you had your stroke, so almost 3 years ago. And naturally, when her and Kristen met on Instagram, you know, Kristen jumped right into the community. She started spreading her positive energy as Kristen does. And it's just been this word of hope for people. And Maddie and Kristen have the same outlook on their recovery. They bonded immediately. But before we talk to Maddie, Kristen, I knew you pre-stroke, post-stroke. I still remember, I'm going to make it about me. Damn it. I'm sorry. One more time. It would be weird if I didn't. I remember seeing on Instagram, and you had your piece.
Oh, that was my first one. Yeah.
That was your first one. And it didn't quite hit me like what it meant to have a stroke. Like, I'm like, I want to come out and see you. Like, how are you? Like, what's going on? Like, it didn't quite hit me because you were so positive on your post, and you were so, I don't want to say nonchalant. You were in a wheelchair. Like, you had like, hey, I took a nap. I woke up. But it didn't quite hit me. Wow.
Well, nobody really thinks about stroke in like a young person. So it's like what we go through and like what a 70-year-old goes through. Maybe physically it's the same, but mentally it's different. I mean, not that like a 70-year-old deserves to go through this. Nobody does. But it's almost like, well, they live their life. And it's like when you're a young stroke survivor, you're worried like, oh my God, I want to be able to be a mother, go out with my friends still, you know, live my life, my career. They're just different things you worry about.
Yeah, it's more so like expected for older people. But I feel like when you're younger, like us, people don't think that that's something that could happen.
And nobody really understands brain injury or stroke. So most of us, when you have a stroke, it causes a brain injury. So that's why we have a big brain injury.
That was something that I had no idea about with the brain injury part. And I've never experienced anything like that, but I was the spouse of someone who had a kidney transplant and went through chemo. And so I know what it feels like to be in the shoes of someone that is very close to someone that is going through a recovery. And it's really, it's very intense. Maddie, I'm still just blown away at 22. Who was your support system for you?
So I've been very lucky in that since this happened to me, I have had an incredible support system between my parents and my siblings, friends, my like would volunteer to like make dinners and bring it to my siblings and my parents because they obviously didn't have time to cook because they were spending so much time in the hospital. And I've just felt very, very lucky. And then even just hearing like my church would like say prayers for me and people in our church community and even strangers. Like I was getting letters from people I'd never met in my life saying like, oh, we heard about what happened. We're keeping you in our prayers and like stay strong, all this stuff. So it's been, I mean, I've been blown away by the amount of support that people can give.
I'm definitely mirrored Maddie's experience. You know, my family was able to fly out and be with me the entire time. And they've They've been there. My friends, my support system in Denver has been absolutely amazing. Some of my friends flew in from Chicago to be with me. And then like, because I was on TV when it happened, so many like viewers reached out, sent me cards, and just honestly, it's like people you've never met before. It's just the nicest thing ever. Like, I'm praying for you every day. And like, those things are just, it's something you never expect. And then they're just like little lifts of hope, you know,
Absolutely.
like they're praying for you. And
yeah, we had the same thing for my ex-husband where people reached out and a strong faith-based community that was just there for him. And as you're working through, like, what's the purpose behind this? Why is this happening? I find it incredible, even today with COVID, where we're in a time where things are really hard. There's these beautiful stories. There's amazing people. Humanity really has an opportunity to shine. Not everyone will, but the majority of it does. And it's amazing. Tell me more about this stroke survivors community that you guys found each other in.
it's just honestly, when I came to, what I needed was to see another young stroke survivor be like, hey, look at me. Like, I had a stroke a year ago and I'm fine now. And I'm able to go to work, live on my own, have a family. That's what I needed. And when you're in that moment, you wake up, and so my stroke left my left side paralyzed. And it's just like you think nothing's going to change. It's like, is this how my life's going to be forever? And so I just started Googling naturally, or like hashtags, stroke survivor, stroke recovery. And there's this huge population, just community on Instagram. For me, it's really only on Instagram. Maddie, do you have it anywhere else?
I'm a part of a few Facebook groups, but I think same for me. Instagram has been like the main way to connect. And I actually didn't start being active on Instagram in like the stroke and brain injury community until like 2 years after my stroke. And that was because like in the beginning, I was still grappling with the questions of like, oh, why this happened to me? Like, I hate this.
Sure.
And once I kind of came more to terms with this being my new reality, then I was like, okay, now moving forward, I want to connect with other people who have had a similar thing like you, and, you know, exchange and share our stories. And, you know, who knows, maybe we have some strategies or something that could help someone else. So that was kind of my motivation.
Everyone is just looking for hope. I remember seeing your ponytail video. That was one, because all I wanted to do was my hair in a damn ponytail, and I couldn't, because I couldn't use my left hand. And I remember seeing your ponytail. I'm like, all right, this girl did it. I'll be able to do it. Not tomorrow, but as long as I can do my own ponytail and not have my mother do my ponytail ever again.
I know. I felt the same way. And I practiced doing my hair almost every day.
Oh, me too. Yeah. Putting my hair in a ponytail.
Yeah.
I usually used to have like a really high bun, and right now I can only get like a low one, but that doesn't mean it's not going to get
this right here. I can only do low ones, and I'm trying now to get it higher, but it's like, how do I get all the hair in my hand and like have it be on the top of my head and not like down there? It's just easier. So that's
little things like that you take for granted. Like,
I know,
being able to do your own hair. That caused so many fights between my mother and I in rehab. I'm like, no, Mom, my hair looks stupid. It was just like grammar school all over again. You just get into these.
Wait, if you figure out how to do a higher bun or a higher ponytail, please let me know, because I'm still trying to do that.
For sure, I will. You know, on YouTube, there's a lot of people who are like maybe missing their left hand, but they're not like hemiplegic, so it's like a totally different tactic.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when you're half paralyzed, bless you. It's not that it's harder, but it's just like different things that we have to grapple with.
Different.
I love that you just took a pause there to say bless you to Vaca, your dog.
Her allergies are
People are like, why is this woman laughing? Well, Kristen's saying bless you.
My dog's allergies.
Maddie, I imagine being that young, the walking through those different stages of grief, that denial, anger, depression, acceptance. What was that like for you?
So I think that like initially I definitely was more in like the dwelling stage, where I was like just getting all down on myself and depressed and like, oh, why'd this happen? Things are never going to get better. But actually in my book, which just came out, I talk a bit about when that all changed for me. And it was this moment when I was in inpatient rehab, And at that point, I was walking with a quad cane. I could only walk maybe like 5 or 10 feet before I had to sit down in my wheelchair and take a break. So I had no endurance. I was walking with a cane, which sucked. And I wasn't even good at it. So I could only go a few feet. But so anyways, I was walking one day with my brother at the time. And I was walking with the cane. He had the wheelchair behind me. I'd gone like 10 feet, which is pretty far. And then I had to sit down in the wheelchair because I couldn't walk anymore. And we were paused in front of like another patient's room. And the door was open and I looked in and I saw a person just laying there, clearly completely paralyzed, like not even able, most likely, to even get out of bed. And I just thought to myself, like, wow, here I am being like, oh, why did this happen to me? Like, woe is me. And then there are people here who can't even do something that, like, stand up or walk with a cane or take a few steps. I can't run a marathon. I can't walk more than 10 feet per se, but I mean, I have so much to be grateful for. And that just kind of like that was when I changed my attitude.
Yeah.
I felt like that as well. So much. I felt like that like almost initially, just especially after I found the stroke community, because so many people in our community have had like brain surgeries or craniotomies, and I never had to undergo any of that. And I felt just like so blessed that I didn't have to do that. But I think it's not something that everybody can find solace in, but that's definitely what I thought. Like things could be way worse. Like my stroke impacted my left side and I'm right hand dominant. So I was able to go home and live on my own because I could still do everything with my right hand. And one of my friends that I met in the community, she is left hand dominant and her stroke impacted her left side. So it's like, you know, she's deaf. She can't even drive yet. And I was able to drive.
That's how it is for me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you can't drive yet either?
I'm left-handed and I'm left side affected.
How did
wow.
Did they know what happened?
Yeah.
What caused your stroke, Maddie?
It was an AVM, so an arteriovenous malformation in my occipital lobe in the right hemisphere. So that's why I'm left side affected. And unfortunately, I was left side dominant before this. So that's been like a challenge. But I mean, you know, day by day, we're adjusting.
Yeah.
And so it was an AVM in my occipital lobe, which caused the stroke. And then I had an emergency brain surgery, but actually it had kind of been scheduled before because I was lucky in that I knew that I had this thing in my brain. So I was going into the hospital to get a surgery to remove it. And the preoperative procedure ended up causing a blood clot, which burst. So then it caused me to have a stroke, and then I had to have an emergency surgery. But I mean, I feel like similar to you, like I'm lucky in that I'm still here, you know, I'm still alive, and each day is a new gift and a blessing, and I am just very grateful.
100%. Don't you feel like you're an expert on brain now? I mean, you know, I feel like it's you're like that's so like I know exactly what she's talking about. I know
you pick up on all the terms.
I know it's crazy. I feel like do you follow any like special diets or anything like that?
No, but I will say that I noticed after I had the stroke that when I ate carb heavy meals that I started to gain weight. And I don't know if it's like an issue with like my metabolism's all messed up or something. I don't know. But so anyways, I'm try to stick to more like a low carb diet.
Sure. Yeah, I do. I usually do keto, although yesterday I did have a donut because I do love donuts, and I had one. I gave it up for Easter, but I mean, our brain is all fat, so it's like it runs more smoothly on like healthy fats. So I try to follow keto as much as I can because I do notice like when I have sugar, I'm like brain fog and to it that you just have to live a different life now.
Definitely. Yeah, it's annoying that now there's like these new diet problems that I feel like have come as a result. But I mean, kind of like you had said before, it could be worse. So
that's how I feel like things could always be worse. Like I might have, what if I had to move back to Chicago and live with my parents and not live on my own? Not that I don't love them and I'm blessed to have them, but I'm just happy and I'm moving back home to live with them at the end of the month. But I am, you know, grateful that I don't have to have care. Like I can live on my own and I'm safe with it. Yeah, things could be much worse.
Absolutely. Kristen, what caused your stroke? I don't know that I've ever asked you that.
Nobody knows.
That's what I thought. I kind
Yeah.
of knew that from reading. And it's funny, someone had asked me the other day, and I said, when I first reached out to her, out of all the questions I had, I felt like what caused it and like asking you all I just remember hating those fucking questions.
Well, it's like, I feel like a lot of people ask me those questions right off the bat because they're scared for themselves, and that's fine. I just want to I wanted just to help spread the message that strokes can happen to young people and you should be living a healthy life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want you to live in fear, but you should be aware and know the signs just in case it happens to you. But yeah, we have no idea what caused it. And they've run so many tests on me. I was at one of the best brain injury hospitals in the nation. I mean, they don't know.
Did they talk to you about a link to birth control? I've heard that from women.
Yeah, but I have an IUD, so that link is really much linked to like oral contraceptives, and so they looked at that already. And honestly, one of the things that I could not stand at the beginning were people trying to figure out like what caused my stroke. I'm like, listen, you and your Google bar, that's very nice of you, but if these like renowned surgeons can't figure out what happened to me, your Google search isn't going to do it.
Right. I think that's why I didn't ask, because I've been on the other end of it where people always want to know and they want to I felt like every time I had to talk about what was happening with my ex-husband, I was reliving the moment. And so it never occurred to me to ask you. And I just realized, wow, it's been a year. I've never actually asked you if you knew what caused
right
it.
After I had my stroke, Nightly ran a story about a guy who went to a chiropractor and cracked his neck and then had a stroke. So then it was like the next day, everyone was like, do you crack your neck? I'm like, yes, but they would have found that already. Like, thank you. Or like one time I had someone visit me and they were like, oh, did they look at your like cardiovascular system? I'm like, thank you for your, for visiting me. But you know what? My doctors will figure it out. That's the only thing that really has irritated me. It's just, I know people are just like scared for themselves, or did you have high blood pressure? Did you have high cholesterol? Thank you, Bob from high school. Or a guy I knew in high school, but I'm telling you, you aren't going to figure out what happened.
If Kyle comes back and has concerns, fuck yeah,
Kyle was my boyfriend from high school. So,
what about you, Maddie? Did you have any questions that people asked you that you were just, or things that irritated you as you were recovering?
She's such a little angel.
Think of anything. I mean, maybe I'll get like slightly irritated when people ask questions, but for me, I try and think that people, whatever question they ask, whatever, I'm an open book, I'll answer it. And maybe I can turn it into an opportunity to educate other people and make people more aware of like what Kristen was saying, like what the warning signs are. And just, I want other people to know that like this can happen to you. Maybe you're young, but you're not invincible. Right. Like this can literally happen to anyone.
So when you hear stroke, think of FAST, which is facial drooping, and then you put your arms up, and if you can't lift one of your arms, that's it. And then, what is S again?
I don't know if I even know.
Slurring.
So not going to save your life.
S is slurring. So if you speak and you're slurring, it's slurring. And T means time to go to the hospital. Don't wait. So what they say in like our community is time is brain. So like the longer you wait, the more impacted your brain is getting. So the quicker you get to the hospital, the quicker they can assess you and figure things out. So facial drooping, arm weakness, slurring, time to get to the hospital.
Or like a really bad headache, like worse than any headache you've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one to know. The worse than any headache you've ever had.
So the day before I took a nap, I thought I was getting like a migraine, and I've had them before, but this was obviously different. It was like such a pounding. I almost called in to work, and that's why I always see like God has been with me the entire time, but I didn't, because if I had called in and was like, I'm not coming in, I'm sick, no one would have thought to check on me because I live on my own or whatever. And then I ended up taking a nap, and then the stroke happened when I was sleeping, and then my boyfriend came and was banging on the door for me to open the door, he just thought I was mad at him, which is natural for me to be mad at him and just ignore him and not open the door. So he was like calling my sister and he's like, Caitlin, please tell her to answer the door. Like, I don't know what I did. And she was like, okay. And then I just remember like being on the floor, and because I had passed out when I tried to get up to open the door, and my sister was like, please just answer this poor man. Like, he's so upset. I was like, everything is fine, because I was like half dead. And then the ambulance came, and I didn't get a CT scan though for 8 hours at the hospital.
Wow.
Maddie, how did they figure out you had a stroke?
Well, because I also had a similar thing where I was in the hospital already. I had the preoperative procedure, so I was like recovering in the NICU or whatever, and had I also get migraines, not anymore, but the worst migraine, worse than any migraine that I've ever had in my entire life. And then I guess I just blacked out because I don't remember anything. The next thing I know, I've woken up and I'm paralyzed in a hospital bed and can't move anything.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy to think like you wake up and your life is completely different?
Yeah, I'm like, what happened?
As we just hearing these stories, I think about people right now as I look on Facebook and how they're talking about their lives are changed forever because of COVID. And we're entering a post-COVID world, and things are going to look different. And people as they walk through that stage of grief, that last 6th stage now is looking for meaning. So I wonder for you, where do you see the purpose of this stroke in your life, or do you?
Yes, I think I had shared this with Katie before, but I don't think I ever shared it with you, Maddie. The morning after my stroke, my mom was in my room and she was closing the curtains because I was screaming that it was like just killing me, like light, especially, I mean, with migraines and then post-stroke, I'm still not extremely, but I'm still a little bit sensitive to light. Like even when I take my dog out in the morning, I was like, I feel like a vampire, like, but she was closing the curtains because I was screaming that it was hurting my head. And I was having a bad morning. It was the day after, I was like, why did this happen to me? That was the first and last time I ever questioned it. And she was like, Mija, we don't know why God did this, but he's changing your path for a reason. And so I've always thought of that ever since then. I never really questioned why, because I feel like God is in control of my life and he let this happen for a reason. And every time I've shared my story and I've gotten a message back from like another young stroke survivor that's been like, you've given me so much hope, I'm like, this is why this happened. I know there's a more plan for me down the road. I don't know what it is, but I feel it's weird. Like after being in this for a year, I feel privileged. I mean, I don't wish a stroke on anyone. And I mean, if I could take back the stroke, I mean, because I've lost my job. And I mean, I feel like I've almost lost a year of my life, but I've gained so much this past year that I feel privileged that this happened to me, because it's just given me a totally different outlook on life. And I'm able to just deeper, and I just feel, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, there's something that's coming up on the screen. So I love deeper. I laugh harder just because I know now that every day it really is a blessing. And then you think something, I mean, I was completely healthy. I went to spin class the morning of my stroke. So, I mean, I was healthy, pretty fit. I wouldn't say really fit, but I enjoy a donut, but I was pretty fit. And so it's like
pretty fit, but definitely eats donuts. That would be my thing.
That's how I would describe my body. Pretty fit, but loves a good donut. Yeah. So it's just, I really do feel like this happened to me for a reason, and I'm able to spread hope and things like that. What about you, Maddie?
I feel honestly exactly the same way. And soon after my stroke, someone told me one of the more poignant things I've ever heard, which I always think about. He said that God gives his toughest soldiers the hardest battles. And I feel like that is, probably so true. Like not anyone can handle an experience like you and I have been through. And I also agree that like it is a privilege, because okay, I shouldn't have lived through that, but I did. So what does that mean for how I live my life moving forward? Like, what am I going to do? How can I have an impact on the lives of others? And I feel like I want to use my life, or at least a part of my life, to help other people, other young stroke survivors, 100%. Or people who have had a brain injury. Yeah.
And you're doing that through your book. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I'm really, really excited
25
because
years old and an author.
it's my second book actually, has just come out like last week. And this book is about my experience with stroke recovery and the lessons I've learned. And I talk to like other people who have had brain injuries in the community. And then, I interview other doctors and just people who are like involved in the brain injury stroke community and share my own experiences and how my recovery has gone for me and what I've learned in almost 3 years of recovery. And so I'm really excited that that book is out, and now I'm, just trying to get the word out about it.
What's the name of the book?
It's called Fast Forward, but abbreviated FAST, FWD, The Fully Recovered Mindset by Madeline Eubank.
Love it. That's amazing, Maddie. How long did it take you to write that?
I started it over the summer. So it was like in June, about like 9 months.
All right, now you're just bragging.
All right. So, this woman right here has just inspired Kristen. This book is happening. Kristen and I, we first sat down February 1st. Kristen's like, I want to, yes, I do remember the date. And the only reason I remember the date is because I'm crazy. No, I'm like, I forget why I remember the date, but I had like a plan in my head. And I'm going to launch this thing February 1st. And it started with a conversation with Kristen Aguirre. And here we are. And Kristen said, I want to write a book. And I'm like, I've been wanting to write a book as well. Mine is a little bit more about mental health and breakdown, going through a divorce. Mom's dead, dad's gay now. I'm still funny. Like, I had this thing, she had this thing. And I went on a date with a guy who's published a few books. And he sat down and gave me a piece of paper. Don't ever go on a date with a guy who pulls out a piece of paper from their pocket and a pen, and had me write down, like, what are my priorities? Is like, you don't have time to write a book this year. It's not going to happen. You don't know what it takes to write a book. It's too much to write a book. You won't make any money if you write a book. It's not worth it to write a book. And I came back. I was like, all right, Kristen, I'm sorry. We were going to launch a podcast, but we can't write a book. And Kristen writes back in the text message, who the fuck said we couldn't write a book?
It sounds like me.
I wrote a blog about it, and I sent her the blog, and she literally wrote back, who the fuck said we can't write a book? And I'm like, yes, that is, why would I ever talk to a man that says we can't write a book? And Maddie's written 2, Kristen. She's written 2 books. What's your first book?
So you can do it. Excuse me. My first book was also written post-stroke. So it came out in September of 2018. And I was encouraged to write it by an old college professor of mine who said, why don't you use this time while you're going through rehab to focus on learning more about interests that you have, or like staying cognitively engaged? Because I wasn't working at the time. Like, I was purely focused on my rehab and doing exercises and stuff. And honestly, that was the best advice I think I've ever gotten. Someone to just tell me, like, okay, make the most of this time that you have. Like, when are you ever going to have this much free time again? And similar thing could be said about now, us being in quarantine. So maybe you guys need to write your book now.
That's what I've been saying. Podcast. We have been talking about this podcast. We go into quarantine. Boom. Kristen gets fired. Now we're recording like 8 podcasts a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we have to set boundaries for each other. Like, we're not doing the podcast today.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now we're overworking.
Making the most.
One more thing I wanted to talk about, and Maddie, I would love for you to chime in too. People don't understand brain injury. And I feel like that is something that I've learned that I've really had to like convey to the people around me that I love. Like, listen, there are some days that I'm like really tired, and I've really had to like set boundaries that I'm not going to be able to go to every single event like the old Kristen would just go. But I'm exhausted, like mentally. Brain fatigue is real. And you look at us and it's like, oh, this girl's healthy. She's lying. I mean, no one has ever said that to me in my life, but I feel like when I cancel for like events that, my loved ones are involved with, especially for like emceeing things for news, I was like, they probably think I'm lying. But like, some days I just cannot. Like, some days I need to sleep all day.
So I have 2 really good analogies that can be applied to this. Think of it as depleting battery life on your phone is one way that I've heard people say to look at it. Or my favorite is one that my podcast co-host came up with, is like, what it's like when you wake up and you're hungover, right? But now imagine that you wake up, you're hungover, and you're always hungover, like for the rest of the day.
Right, yeah.
It's just like a constant hangover.
That sounds awful.
It's not every day, but on the days that It's
Then the
awful.
days
when
are
when
awful.
it is worse, then
But it does
I mean,
kick.
it is like being hungover.
That's a great way to put it. I
Has
feel
your
like I have
strength
it
gotten
better.
better over time?
My strength, yes,
Like
and
your
my
bravery, your endurance.
definitely. I mean, I
Like, at first, I'd be like, I can't. I have to go to sleep. Nobody talk to me.
yeah. No, mine has also improved. I mean, I'm working full time now. So that was like when I started working full time, it was April of 2019. So that was the first job I'd ever had because I had just gotten out of college and everything. But so when I first started working, it was really, really hard. Like I could barely make it through 8-hour day. But then like the more I did it, I got used to it. And then I could find myself, I was able to work longer or get up earlier and just kind of like adapting and getting used to it.
Do you ever feel like, do you want to be normal, or like, what's your goal for you in health wise? I mean, I know
Normal.
it's like, what is normal? Nobody's
Yeah.
I want to
mean,
be normal. There's nothing wrong with my health. I would just like to be normal.
I think I want that this experience of having a stroke does not inhibit me from living like a full, fulfilling, amazing life. You know, like, okay, maybe I won't be exactly how I used to be, or like I won't be as mobile as I once was, or like able to do all the things that I used to be able to do. But as long as it doesn't stop me from like still having a very full life,
Sure.
you know.
What's dating like? You're so young. I just got out of the dating game after getting back in the dating game.
Oh,
after being
really?
divorced. Right. So I met my ex-husband. I'm old. So I met him in 2004. Flip phones were all the rage. Texting was
Oh,
expensive.
yeah.
Yes. I still had dial-up internet and beep boop beep bop. Like not even at my apartment. I had to go to the library and we would email each other, like chat. When we were dating, because he graduated a year before I did. And so I got back in the dating pool. I got on the apps in my 30s. Like, what is happening out here? The humans have run amok on the apps. What is it like dating with a brain injury, with recovery? Have you been dating?
Well, I don't go on the apps. To be honest, I kind of stay away from them because I don't see, at least for me, I
Great
don't see any
option.
real like reason to be on that. Like I'm sure I'm not
No,
currently
you're
dating
25.
anyone.
Don't waste your time on the apps. When you're 36 and
Yeah.
desperate,
Maybe then. Yeah.
yes, maybe then. Although I met my man on the streets, so that's where all
My
the good
hope.
ones hang
Why
out.
can't I just meet a nice man like walking down the road on my socially distant walk? Why can't I just meet someone?
That was actually how I thought it would happen. I was walking down the street on Valentine's Day, and there was all these men with flowers, and I was like, I should just trip and fall into one and see if like a connection. Like, that's how it happens in the movies, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, are you dating?
I mean, no, to be honest, I'm not.
Yeah, you're 25.
dating,
Okay, don't
but
date.
I have gone on dates since like this happened. But for me, it's funny because I was actually just like talking about this with one of my friends before we did this podcast. I don't, and I don't know what you do, Kristen, but I don't, when I meet new people, I don't bring up the whole thing of having had a stroke, brain injury, blah, 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 right off the bat, because I get nervous that people won't be able to see beyond that. And like, that might just be a me thing, but I get
feel
nervous
the
that.
same way about my personality. When I go on dates, I'm nervous to tell people about myself. I'm joking, but also semi-serious. Like, I get how you feel about not wanting to share certain things about yourself. Divorce was mine.
I really like, especially when I meet someone new, like not men, because I've had the same boyfriend who we were dating before my stroke, during my stroke, and now, and so I've been blessed in that realm, I guess. He's been amazing and a great support system. But even like when I meet other women, like I feel like you're privileged to hear that story of mine, because it's very it was obviously traumatic, and but everything that I got out of it is special. And I think if I share that with you, we have to be close friends. I'm sharing that on this podcast, but I mean, and
look how much stronger you are because of it.
That's a special moment. So now I don't bring that up to anyone. But I do tell, like, all my friends kind of get annoyed, not annoyed now, but I'm always like, guys, I'm late because I have a brain injury. They're like, all right, enough with that excuse. It's fine now. But yeah, I use brain injury all the time. But I only bring that up to like my close friends and family.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I love that for me, it's about vulnerability and what you choose to share, right? We've all, whether the scars are physical and you can see them or they're mental, whatever they are, it is special to share that. I love that you put it that way. Like, it's a privilege to hear this story.
Yeah.
Right.
And it truly is. Your stories are inspiring. I am a better person for hearing your stories, and so are the people listening to this podcast. And that is not for people named Kyle that you lose your virginity to. So those assholes don't get to hear this story. Maddie, you got to listen to our first podcast to understand the reference to.
I think so.
Kyle Murray.
I was trying to look him up the other day because one of my friends listened and they were like, what's up now? And I was like,
I don't know what Kyle Murray's up to. Like, does he have a family? Does he have a wife that's not orgasming? Like, I have questions.
No way he has a wife.
Probably not. Maddie, you have been so amazing on this show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Where can people follow you? Sorry.
Yes. Where can they follow you?
Well, I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is Maddie Stroke of Luck. That's MADDI Stroke of Luck is my Instagram. And there's information on my Instagram, like about my book and stuff too. So if anyone's interested in that, they can check it out. Instagram is probably the best way.
Tell me, we didn't get a chance to hear the title of your first book. What was your first book called?
So it's kind of this is the original, is Fashion Forward, FWD, Fashion Forward, How Today's Culture Shapes Tomorrow's Fashion. And then I guess now it's kind of like a series because this one is Fast Forward, the Fully Recovered Mindset.
You are amazing, Maddie. I'm so glad we were able to connect and God brought you into my life.
Oh, thank you so much.
I am glad that I was able to connect with you as well. You're in Jersey, so we're going to see each other at some point.
I'm going to fly out there after Corona and then we'll
post-quarantine. Let's hang out.
Post-quarantine
live, yes.
Maddie, we ask every guest a few questions, and I feel like I might know the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyways. What is your superpower?
Ooh, I don't know. Maybe my attitude, I would say.
Yeah. Your positive attitude is just absolutely incredible. When I see Kristen and I talk about superpower, and Kristen's superpower she shared with me was empowering women.
That's a good one.
And you can see it in her. And I think every life experience we have, we can walk away with a superpower. And I think both of you have walked away with this superpower of just inspiration. I am inspired by talking to you. I was bitching about my hair today because I sliced my finger.
Oh no.
Making a ham for Easter. Jesus shed blood. I shed blood. Zesting. So I literally shaved off my finger and it's bad. I don't want to look at it. I probably need a stitch, but I don't want to get Rona. So I'm gonna go with it. But I'm afraid to take a shower, which is why my hair looks terrible. But I'm able to get my hair up on my head. And hearing you guys share that story, I was like, well, that's the privilege. And I just
we'll get there though. We'll get there.
Oh yes.
We'll do a podcast episode in
we'll do a podcast episode on that.
A demo.
I know what it feels like to, have a cut finger. And so that's the closest that I know what it feels like to have a stroke. I definitely see your superpower is this radiant, positive attitude. And I love that you took the time off that you had as an opportunity to publish books. So badass. I can't wait to read these books. What's your first book about? The second one's Stroke. What's your first book?
Yeah. So the first one, I wove in little anecdotes about my stroke recovery because I wrote it after I had the stroke, but it was an exploration of how the fashion industry is changing and, just how fashion is transforming.
What do you do now for work?
What did I what?
What do you do now for work?
Oh, I am a junior underwriting associate in reinsurance for a Spanish company. And I love it.
That sounds amazing.
I don't know what any of that means, but it sounds great. Last question of the day.
I usually ask, what do you tell your younger self? But you're 5. So
yeah, I wasn't going to ask that. I was going to ask the most important question of the day.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite drink?
Like alcoholic drink?
That's
Or
how young she is, Kristen. She's like lemonade.
no!
Yes, alcoholic drinks. What's your favorite one?
Well, to be honest, so lately I've been really into gin and tonic with Cointreau, game changer, or a Mexican mule.
I don't know what gin and tonic with Cointreau is.
Yeah, you just add a little bit of Cointreau and like a slice of lime. It's really, really good. But also, I'm a big fan of tequila, so anything.
Oh, do you like
tequila-based.
Palomas?
Sorry?
A Paloma?
Yes, I love, yes.
So that's my favorite drink ever. See, we're Stroke. I remember
That's it,
Stroke
yeah.
Sisters.
Stroke
And I like the flavored ones too, like grapefruit, and
Stroke.
you can get really fun with them.
Well, original Paloma is grapefruit, so you're doing classic, girl. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Mexican meals lately. I've been doing a lot of
jalapeno.
At times, yeah.
Yeah, so good. I love a little spicy buell.
Love it.
Me
So we'll
too.
have you come. When Kristen comes to Jersey, we'll all go out. We'll get some margs, some mules,
Sounds
some
good.
palomas. And yeah, and then maybe at that point you'll be ready to date. You're too young though right now, so take our advice. There's no one out there that's interesting. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
it was a pleasure to
let me know
have
if
you.
meet anyone.
Thanks for coming
Will
on.
do.
All right,
Maddie.
thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, guys.